is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils and the holds of every foul spirit and cage. Now, as we pointed out last week, Babylon is spoken of figuratively. Probably not the ancient city of Babylon that was consigned to destruction. In Isaiah 13:19, the Lord said, "In Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And neither shall the Arabian pitch a tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there." Isaiah 21:9, "And behold, here cometh a chariot of men with a couple of horsemen, and he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all of the graven images of her gods he hath broken unto the ground." So here is the angel declaring this in Revelation, the same message of Isaiah 21:9. Jeremiah speaks about Babylon. He said, "Therefore the wild beast of the desert with the wild beast of the islands shall dwell there," the coastal areas, "and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. As God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith the Lord, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell there." The destruction, it's fallen. The 51st chapter of Jeremiah sort of features God's destruction and Babylon. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all of the evil that should come upon Babylon, even all of these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, "When you come to Babylon, and you shall see it, you shall read all of these words. Then you shall say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man or beast, but that it shall be desolate forever. And it shall be when thou hast made an end of the reading of this book, that you shall bind a stone to it, cast it into the midst of the Euphrates, and say, Thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary." Now, Rome in chapter 17 was spoken of as Babylon. As we mentioned last week, John wrote during the time of imperial persecution of Christians by the Roman government. And so he could not really write and get broad distribution of this book of Revelation if he spoke of it as Rome. And so he calls it the Babylon because it is the religious system that is being spoken against. And so the Romans reading it didn't catch on to the spiritual implications and didn't realize that he was writing against Rome. He was on the island of Patmos. He was there as a prisoner of Rome. He had been exiled to the island of Patmos. He had been in Ephesus, but was exiled to the island of Patmos when he wrote this book, and that was under severe persecution by the Roman government at that time. So Babylon is fallen, predicting the fall of Babylon. And here, not the literal Babylon, that has already fallen, and This is the figurative Babylon, and perhaps again the apostate religion, and in chapter 18, the commerce that came from this. He goes on to say that it has become the habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. You might make a note, read the whole 51st chapter of Jeremiah, and it'll give you a lot of the details. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Now, whenever you read of fornication in the Bible, it is usually being used in a spiritual sense, especially as it is spoken of in judgment and in prophecies. It is the worship of other gods. You see, we are to be joined unto God in a covenant, in a relationship. And for us to love other gods or be in love with other gods is considered in the scripture as fornication, spiritual fornication. You're to be committed to God. You're to be married to God in a sense, and thus for you to be in love with other gods or be involved in the worship of other gods, it is like the sin of fornication, because you really belong to God. So the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Commercial Babylon, it's referred to here as the mystery. It'll become the center of the world commerce in the last days. Whether or not it is Rome or some other city, we do not really know for certain. There are many Bible commentators who believe that it is Rome, but wherever the commercial center of the world is at this particular time, that is what is going to be coming into the judgment of God. And so just where it is, we're not certain. I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and you receive not of her plagues." And as we said this morning, God calls us to live a life separate from the world, not to be a part of this worldly system that is in rebellion against God. The scripture says, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. For he that has the love of the world in his heart has not the love of the Father." Be not conformed to this world, the Bible tells us, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. And so the Bible has a lot of warnings about separating and living a life of separation from the world, not to be joined to the world, but live a life of commitment and separation from the world. And here again, the Lord is saying, "Come out of her, my people. Do not be partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues." God is going to bring judgment. And if you are a part of the world system, then you will be judged with the world. And thus the Lord is calling you to come out, be separate, saith the Lord. Touch not the unclean thing. I will be a father, and you shall be my children, the Lord said. So Jesus said, "If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." And so the importance of living a life of commitment and separation unto Jesus Christ, not being a partaker of the worldly system. For in verse 5, her sins have reached unto heaven.